Can I please have a motion to reconvene public meeting? All in favor? Aye. Motion so carries. Can I have the Pledge of Allegiance done by Ms. Mallon tonight? Also followed by a moment of silence for our men and women serving overseas and at home. Please stay standing for a moment of silence. Thank you. Will the district clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Murphy? Mrs. Mallon? Present. Mrs. Kennedy? Mrs. Augulus? Dr. Adams? Present. Mrs. Napolitano-Ferno?
Present.
Mr. Spencer? Mr. Kalihipar?
Present.
Mr. Hauser?
Present.
Mrs. Coffey? Present. Thank you.
Thank you, Jesse. Can I please have a motion to authorize the board president and/or board vice president to call a recess as needed during this meeting without requiring any additional board vote?
All motion.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion so carries. Okay, we're going to go over a few discussion pieces. Should we do the student government first or you? Is there a student government, anyone in the audience from student government that would like to speak? Is that what's going on? No? Okay. Then Superintendent, you're up.
Okay, there is a resolution on this agenda just for the board's edification, which feels uncomfortable. It is the Native American Imagery and Mascot Resolution. Earlier this year, the New York State Department of Education has decreed that school districts that continue to utilize Native American team names, logos, and/or imagery without current approval from a recognized tribe must immediately come into compliance. SED is developing regulations that will clarify which school districts are obligated in this respect. And they propose the regulations define indigenous name, logo, or mascot as a name, symbol, or image that depicts or refers to indigenous persons, tribes, nations, individuals, customs, symbols, or traditions, including actual or stereotypical aspects of indigenous cultures, used to represent a public school, including but not limited to such school sports teams. However, the definition excludes a public school building or school district named after indigenous tribes. And furthermore, should a school district fail to affirmatively commit to replacing its Native American team name, logo, and/or imagery by the end of the 2022-23 school year, it may be found willfully in violation of DASA. The memorandum goes on to state the penalties for such a violation could include removal of school officers and the holding of state aid. So the Thunderbird is a mythological creature that is indigenous in nature. We have received no such indication that we will have to change the name, but in the event that the New York State Education Department directs us to change the name, the resolution that is currently on the agenda is really just the protocol and procedures that the district would follow if we are directed by the New York State Education Department to change our longstanding name. So I know that there was worry about that in the community. We are not looking to change the name. We are just putting in a protocol in place if the Board of Trustees of the New York State Education Department actually directs us to change that. This is just a protocol that would be in place to do that.
Thank you. Are you reading your statement?
Yep.
Okay, now I'll read mine following.
So on Friday, March 10th, our civic-minded students embraced their right to peaceful protest. Regardless of the events that led up to that moment, I must take a minute and commend our students. You showed respect for authority, you complied when you were asked to return to class, and you did so swiftly and without pushback. So I thank our students for being civic-minded and also being responsive when the administration asked you to return to class and return to the learning that is supposed to happen in our high school. The news of any personnel changes, regardless of position and reason, should always be communicated to our families directly and void of any hearsay. At this point, there has been no board action regarding changing personnel. As a district, we are unable to respond to questions about personnel and will not do so moving forward. However, I can unequivocally state that there is absolutely no connection to Mr. Moran's stance on LGBTQ+ students and any personnel changes that may be considered.
Thank you. On March 10th, the high school administrator sent an encrypted email message to the staff that led many to speculate or question the intention thereof. While we can't speculate what the intended outcome of said email was to project, we know as a result it caused a disruption to the educational process. While some students embraced their right to protest, others were left scared and anxious for what was to come. The morning of March 10th, the Board of Education received a text message from the superintendent at 9:24 a.m. that the administrator is taking a leave of absence. More details to follow. I would like to remind the audience, or maybe enlighten those that may not know what is in the purview and obligation of the Board of Education. Recommendations pertaining to personnel are to hire, terminate, promote, or legal recourse. Movement of staff is under the purview of the superintendent. Also under the purview of the superintendent is to recommend a staff member for tenure or not recommend them. Tenure is a process. I apologize, I should have printed this. Tenure is a process, and the superintendent reserves the right to recommend based on numerous factors. There was a rumor in circulation that there was a 4-to-1 vote. This is false. This is false, and no vote was taken. Please review all of the minutes of the last Board of Education meeting for classification and for clarification. The Board of Education took no action regarding this particular employee. In a time when we should be coming together as a community to support our students, we have allowed social media to further divide us all. Social media is not and has never been the source of all facts. There are many false rumors circulating on social media. For full transparency and to clarify that a lot of this is not true, I ask all, rather than take to Facebook, to instead seek out sources with the ability to explain firsthand what is happening. Call the school, speak with an administrator. Do not rely on the rumor mill of social media to tell our district's story. Because if we do, I assure you, it will be a tale of fiction, not truth. And our Connecticut kids, they deserve better. Does the board have any board discussions they'd like to walk on?
Nope.
Budget presentation, Mr. Hauser.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Robert Hauser. I'm the Assistant Superintendent for Business and Operations. And tonight we will be doing a presentation on the proposed 2023-24 school budget, and in particular the proposed expenditures and revenues. I know it may be difficult for those of you to see just on that one screen, so I'll try to walk you through this. But please note, this presentation will be available on the website by tomorrow evening, and there's also copies available in my office. If you want to email me, I can email you a copy as well. So the budget process started back in January. This is actually the 5th presentation, but like I said earlier, it's going to be just the 2nd presentation for the proposed expenditures and revenues. We still have one more presentation on April 4th, and then on April 18th, the board is scheduled to adopt the budget. Following that, on May 9th is the public budget hearing, and then several days later on May 16th is the actual budget vote. Just a summary here as we go into the presentation. The proposed budget maintains all academic, athletic, and extracurricular programs and services. Unfortunately, with the current fiscal climate that we're seeing with a lot of inflation, raising the prices of different things that are involved in our budget, we're starting to see some significant increases in educational materials and supplies, food products in the school lunch program, employee and retiree health benefits, our bus fleet, the purchase of parts for buses, gasoline, and diesel fuel. Also, we are having to contract out certain school bus routes. We're seeing increases in those costs. And then costs to borrow money for our bond anticipation notes, tax anticipation notes, and our long-term bonds. This page here is really just a summary, and like I said, I know there's a lot of numbers and it's difficult for you to see. But at the moment, and we're still early in the budget process here, we still have time to review a lot of these numbers. The proposed expenditure budget is sitting at about 4.34% increase, and we are working diligently to review each line item in the budget to get that lower. About 2/3 of the way down the page is a line called amount to be raised by taxes from the community, both residential and commercial. That number right now is sitting at about 3.8%. So we are also looking to bring that number down as well. At the very bottom of this page, I listed 4 different scenarios so that residents of the community can see, depending upon what your home may be assessed at. $10,000, $30,000. I added a line for $40,000, and then $50,000. So you can see by looking at this chart what the effect would be on your school taxes based on the status of the proposed budget. Okay, the next slide here is just a summary of our proposed revenues and where we actually get the monies in addition to the taxes from the residents to support the budget. So at the top, we have a line called appropriated fund balance. We have another line which makes up miscellaneous revenues. And then we go into our various reserves. So the first reserve we have is workers' compensation reserve. And that's a reserve in case any employees get injured on the job. We have a reserve to pay for those claims. The next reserve is the employee benefit reserve, which for the most part will pay employees upon retirement from the district their accumulated sick time. The third reserve is the employee retirement system reserve, which is for non-instructional employees, for the most part not teachers or administrators. The following reserve is called the Teachers Retirement System Reserve, and that is for teachers and administrators. The next reserve is called the Unemployment Reserve. So we are self-insured, 100% self-insured, should an employee of the district collect unemployment. Next reserve is the Debt Service Fund, which we currently don't have any money in there. Working all the way down towards the bottom, we have state aid. Unfortunately, as you'll see in the presentation, we're waiting any day now for the state legislature, both the Senate and the Assembly, to agree with the governor on the final state aid for the next school year. So those numbers should be coming shortly. And then down towards the bottom is the amount to be raised by taxes, which I said is sitting at about 3.8% right now. Next slide is just a summary of our expenditures in the big categories where those expenditures are. So we break it down by general support, actual instruction within the buildings and the classrooms, our transportation expense, employee benefits, debt service, and interfund transfers. So right now, at the very bottom, you'll see that the budget is sitting at about $216,421,688. And that's the proposed budget. What I did here is we summarized on this page and the following 2 pages, we summarized from the largest line item increase all the way down to the least increase, actually a negative increase. So what I want to do is just quickly go through the top items here so everyone has an idea where some of our big expenditures are coming from for the next school year. So the first and the highest increase is going to be interest expense on our bonds, in particular our bond anticipation notes. That's scheduled to increase over $2 million. On the line item called teaching regular school, that's scheduled to increase a little over $1.8 million. Third line item is contract transportation. So when we hire a vendor to help with the transportation of students, that's scheduled to go up a little over $1.2 million. And then we have our interest expense on tax anticipation notes when we borrow short term. That's scheduled to go up about $900,000, and that's mainly due to what's going on right now in the bond market with interest rates rising. We have programs for students with disabilities. The next line item is hospital, medical, dental insurance for employees. New York State retirement system, which is going up about $500,000. Principal, again, on our bonds related to interest costs, and then a transfer to the school lunch fund. So that's really the top 10 items right now that we're seeing significant increases in. On the next page, towards the bottom, I highlighted where we're starting to see some of the larger decreases, okay? We're seeing a very small decrease in some of the athletic expenses, about $45,000. Next line item is treasurer or the central office accounting department. Occupational education programs, very, I'll say small increase with music. And then we have a line item called workers' compensation that we're seeing a decrease as well. And then the last one there is operation of the plant in terms of our facilities. And that carries over into this page as well, where we're starting to see some more decreases. I'm not going to bore everyone, but the next 16 pages are the very detailed budget line items. So like I said, these pages will be available on the district website, or you can email me and I'll provide you a copy. But for transparency purposes, we're literally putting every single line item out there with a history over the last 2 years. In the current school year, we've added a line to show you what the actual expenditures were through March 7th. And then the yellow column here is where we feel the proposed budget is at the moment. So once again, I think that's 16 pages. So I'll fast forward all the way to the end here. And I believe the last slide is for any questions or comments from the Board of Ed. And my contact information is at the bottom here if anybody needs to know. Any questions?
But there are a few questions that maybe you can have. I'll just have a few questions that you can just go over and have the answers for me at the next board meeting. How much do we spend on consultants? How long have we contracted them for? With the recent contract negotiations, how will it impact this budget and future budgets? So basically, I'm asking now, but maybe after budget season, if you can provide the board with a 5-year projection. The amounts for security, I see that doesn't include a raise. Will that be I mean, I know obviously we haven't had that discussion right now, but I know that there's usually, money's put in case of.
They just got it 6 months ago.
Did they?
This budget, yeah.
I'm sorry, July of this past year, 23.
Right,
So
so
they
we're
are
talking-
getting another increase July of 24.
They are getting, in 20, okay, that's what I want to make sure.
The board
that was
had
included.
approved a 4-year incremental increase over.
Okay, so it's included in here as well.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. What is in the contingency budget? And how much was the last reserves transfer on the last budget? You can have those questions for me at the next, answers for me at the next meeting. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mylan, yes.
Just curious,
They put your pay mic on, please?
just curious about the heating and since we saved so much money on heat, how much, did we save a lot this year in the budget and last year? We hardly had any snow and it wasn't cold and less custodians working overtime. Is there a big savings there?
Lee, I can get that number for you if you just give me a little bit of time and I'll report to you.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be tonight.
Okay.
Anybody else? Thank you, Mr. Hauser.
You're welcome.
Call for a motion and a second to approve at the second reading of the adoption of the policies revised, 68030 expense reimbursement, 9645 disclosure or wrongful conduct. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Need a motion and a second?
We need a motion and a second first. I'll second it. All in favor? Aye. Call for a motion and a second to approve the first reading of the policy 5431, suicide prevention.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion so carries. The superintendent presents the following regulations and exhibits for the Board of Education's edification. No vote needed? No vote needed. Suicide prevention regulation, suicide risk assessment and safety planning document, parent guardian notification form, return to school form, student safety form, student safety plan, suicide prevention policy, HIPAA form. I will now open the floor for the first public comment portion of the agenda. This public comment period is for consent agenda items only. Any additional public comment period will be at the end. Before I read this whole thing, is there anyone by a show of hands that took a card for the consent agenda or wanted to speak about the consent agenda? Okay, let me just finish. Please raise your hand if you have a question or comment on a consent agenda item. If there are agenda questions, I will continue to call individuals forward one at a time. Please wait for my acknowledgement before stepping up to the podium. Any person wishing to address the board shall address the board president only. Comments should be kept as brief as possible and relate to the consent agenda items only. Each person will be limited to 3 minutes for one or more topics. Individual employees, parents, or children should not be identified by name, title, position, grade, or building. If members of the audience speak out of turn, the board may consider a recess until order is restored. In accordance with policy 1230, public comment will not exceed 30 minutes. If there are additional persons wishing to speak, the board may consider a motion to extend that time. You may step up.
Okay, good evening. And I wanted to actually talk about the part of the consent agenda about the T-Bird. I wanted to bring that up. And I thank you, Dr. Adams, for addressing that. But I actually have a few other questions about that. And I noticed in that resolution that it talks about that money will be allocated from the 2024 to 25 and 2025 26 school budget. So I have to ask, with a community that is literally inflation, we're pushed to the limit here, where is that money going to come from? Are we going to raise our taxes? How are we going to pay for this? We didn't ask for the T-Bird to be changed. The board didn't ask. Nobody asked. The teachers, the students, nobody asked for this. Is HOCO going to be providing us with funding so that we can change everything over if we have to, if need be? Wardrobes, we've all bought clothing. You know, how are we going to pay for this out of those budgets? Where are we going to find that money? So that's my first question. And the other thing that I wanted to ask is, what can we do? I know you said that if we can basically say that it's not insulting to anybody, or I can't remember the actual words used, but as a community, can we petition? Can we all gather together, write a petition? And I think everybody here knows how much I love petitions. But I think, what if we could do that? We can really, will the board support the community if we want to put together a petition to send to the government with proof that we want to keep our T-Bird? We get rid of that mascot, it's going to hurt everybody, our PTAs, I mean, everybody, the students. That unites us. So what can we do as a community to combat that? Maybe unite with another school district, Sachem?
So we have not been directed to change anything yet. This is just to hold off the idea that if they say we must, and we haven't done that, we would be held liable for violation of DASSA as a district. I actually have been on the committee with other Suffolk County schools, and there are schools that it is really obvious that the imagery could be offensive. That is not true of the Thunderbird. And we may not be chosen to change that, but it's not actually on our, we're not allowed to say it's not offensive because, I mean, I don't know if anyone in the room is an indigenous, American Indian, but it's not really allowed for us to kind of say that because it was originally considered cultural appropriation. So at this point, the regulation hasn't been completely put into existence. It will be voted on at the April meeting. I just wanted us to get ahead of it just in case that we were directed to do that. So I have no problem with, sending a petition up to Governor Hochul or anybody else up there to say, look, this is a mythology. It's a beautiful, it's a beautiful myth that was part of our indigenous cultures, and there's nothing here that we do that disrespects that. I think that would be a wonderful thing to do.
Okay, thank you.
Also, we're looking at possibly sending a letter. It's something that I was speaking about and something I'd like to do to push back if they make us try to change it. I think it's time that we push a little bit back on them. I don't know if it's going to work. It didn't work with masking, but let's see if it works with this. Me, Brian, we've been T-Birds for life, so I can't see changing it. Anybody else who has a consent agenda item only that they'd like to speak about? Go ahead, Ms. Kenny.
Question about the budget and the budget transfers. Do we have a percentage of, where are we sitting in terms of percentage of staff retiring this year? Do we know? And if we know, because I know some years we have a large amount of staff retiring, and then if we're talking about replacement, and then how does that affect our budget? Because we are going to have the retirement incentives, that's a payout, and then we also have to think about if we're replacing, and those numbers change, and then we could have I don't want to say a surplus, because there really never really is a surplus, but at least we could fall short if we have to rehire staff, because we might find that we need more staff, or we might fall in a better category where we could allocate money in other places, because we might find that some positions have just been phased out because they weren't needed as the years have gone on. Education changes. So do we know where we sit percentage-wise of staff retiring?
So that's not on the consent agenda.
From the
but
budget transfers,
we're
maybe?
finalizing those numbers as part of the budgetary conversation.
Well, okay. I just was curious if that was part of the budget. Okay. That's it.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Instructional and non-instructional, can I please have a motion to approve all personnel schedules as presented?
Second.
Are there any questions?
No.
All in favor? Motion so carries, aye. Consent agenda, can I please have a motion to approve items 2 through 14?
Second.
Are there any questions?
Can you please explain quickly what 5, 6, and 7 are?
So number 5 is so that we can be affiliated with Stony Brook University. We've had this affiliation for, I believe it's going on 3 years now, where our athletic trainers work with athletic trainers who are in the the in-service, the pre-service part of their education, and they come and they actually give athletic training assistance to our athletic trainer, and we've had a number of them come, and it's kind of like free help. So it's almost like student teaching
Right.
for athletic trainers. So we've had that affiliation. I want to say it's going on 3 years. Might have been something that Mr. Mallory helped facilitate when he came to the district, so it might have been even 4 years. But it's really, it's beneficial to both the students who have experience with our students, but also for our students because there's more help in the athletic training venue. Health and welfare services agreements. When parents place a student privately into a parochial school, the district of record in that parochial school's catchment area has to provide health services for those students. So we have students whose parents have placed them in parochial schools that are serviced by both Bayshore and Brentwood school districts. And that's, other places do that. Well, we actually don't have any private schools here, but if we were to have a private school here and we would have to send over a nurse to that building, then we would bill the districts from which those students would have attended if they attended public school.
That was a mouthful. Thank you.
Any other questions?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion so carries. I will now open the floor for the open public comment portion of the agenda. I will call individuals one at a time. Please wait for my acknowledgement before stepping up to the podium. You should have received a numbered card from security on your way in. If you have not, please see a security guard in the back of the room. Any person wishing to address the board shall address the board president only. Comments should be kept as brief as possible and relate to school matters only. Each person will be limited to 3 minutes for one or more topics. Individual employees, parents, or children should not be identified by name, title, position, grade, or building. If members of the audience speak out of turn, the board may consider a recess until order is restored. In accordance with Policy 1230, public comment will not exceed 30 minutes. If there are additional persons wishing to speak, the board may consider a motion to extend that time. May I have number 1 come to the podium?
Good evening, and thank you for allowing me to speak. I'm new at this, so I'll try to be as brief as I can. As a community resident,
I can't hear you.
you
speak a
can.
little-
As a community resident, I'm appalled at the current situation at the high school. I retired in January. I worked under the strict care of Mr. Moran. And then 5 years.
Please
prior-
don't mention the name, just administrator.
Sorry, Jackie. I'm new.
Not
at
even
this.
that.
So anyway, my plea is for the superintendent and the Board of Ed to please, and I'm asking please, try to rescind, retract, or reinstate our former interim principal's position at the high school. It really is very sad to see that a man's livelihood is being played around with at the expense of fallacies. And there are a lot of rumors, and it would be nice to know the facts. This community deserves better, and so do the employees of the district. We deserve it much better. And specifically, we are collectively sickened and fed up with what's happening in our community, which was once a very desirable community to live in. I have 2 daughters. One lives in Stony Brook, the other lives in Smithtown, both looking to come this way and settle maybe in Oakdale, possibly in Bohemia. And I told them not to. It's not a good situation here. And it saddens me to say that. It really does. Now, to the district's attorney, I have a question. How does this community ask for a removal of a board member or members, and also possibly the immediate removal of the superintendent.
So as much as I do appreciate answering questions of a legal nature, that one you're going to have to find your own attorney to answer. So asking me a question like, for example, how to remove my client is probably not one that I'm going to get away with answering this evening. Okay, thank you.
Number 2?
Good evening, Board. Miss Jackie, I would like to address the superintendent, please. Am I allowed to do that?
You can address me and in regards to Nestor.
Okay, thank you. I've surmised over the course of the last 2 weeks that for a reason unknown to the majority of us in this room, an administrator from the high school was going to be reassigned and an interim would step in. Maybe it was suggested that the administrator should take some of his time and stay at home. Perhaps an administrator at central office thought that would be a really wise thing to do to our students with 3 months left to their school year. 3 months. And then I thought, maybe that central office administrator who came up with this idea, just maybe that administrator should take the next 3 months off and we get an interim superintendent. That's my comment. And I'm passionate about it because I've lived here and paid taxes for 51 years. I had 4 children successfully go through this school. 2 of the board members have been in my house and were friends with my children. I have 5 grandkids in this district. I would like to see whoever the hierarchy is and the person who makes decisions at central office leave our district. Thank you, Jackie.
Thank you, Mrs. T. Number 3. Is there a number 3? Okay, thank you.
I stand with the man whose name cannot be mentioned because the man is a good man. It was members of the Board of Ed that ordered a pride flag down. It was members of the Board of Ed that unsuspended a student for written hate speech. It is members of the Board of Ed that have not denounced endorsements and support from designated hate groups that target members of the LGBTQ community. All of this is what is greenlighting attacks on Connect-Quad's LGBTQ students. The man whose name shall not be mentioned was a help to these kids.
Thank you. Number 4.
I would like to first say thank you for having me up here. But first, I would like to say, on your agenda, you say if. You seem to be jumping ahead of the game here when it comes to being a Thunderbird. But just to give you some information, what it means to be a Thunderbird, taken from Wikipedia, A thunderbird, in Native American mythology, a powerful spirit in the form of a bird. And a thunderbird is considered a supernatural being of power and strength. Strength is something that we represent tonight, not only as T-birds, but in support of a great principle. Once a T-bird, always a T-bird. Our formal principal, who is on a leave of absence, is part of what makes us all Connecticut Thunderbirds. Our former principal, he's been doing a phenomenal job for 4 years. As a principal, and has brought students and staff together through a pandemic none of us could have ever imagined. Before that, as an assistant principal leading the Connecticut motto, today we follow, tomorrow we lead. He is doing just that. I don't understand why the board believes one side always has to be right, one side always has to be wrong. Why there can't always be voices heard and conversation had maybe that could have maybe led to a compromise. One more thing. You're always talking about everyone having a voice. I have a voice, and I'm speaking up, and we need you to listen. We want our principal back. Thank you.
Thank you. Number 5.
I and everyone else stands with the principal, whose name shall not be mentioned. We all stand with him, and not only has he helped me throughout the past few years, but he has helped everybody else go through all the tough times that they've gone through all their lives and everything else that they've been through personally or school-wise. The principal helped me go on a better path because my father was sick with cancer just 2 years ago. He helped me become a better person and showed me that just because he was sick, he was letting go. He showed me that he was fighting for what was right and showed me how to become a better person rather than let everything else get behind me and let everything else be the best of me. We want our principal back. Not just me, everyone here and everyone who couldn't attend here. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Number 6.
Good evening. My name is Lauren Deegan. My husband and I have been members of this community for 39 years and are graduates of the class of 2002. We are now raising 2 young children in this district. When I look around at our community, it is made up largely of people that have chosen to remain here to raise families of their own. The intramural fields during the weekends are filled with multi-generational Connecticut families. Often those that are most involved are the ones that have lived here their entire lives. That is because at one time, Connecticut was doing something right. Integrity, respect, unity, and appreciation for tight-knit bonds was being modeled from the top down. Today I stand here before you, and I have grave concerns that that is no longer the case. Recently, 2 Connecticut administrators came to work on a Friday morning and never returned. One of them was a principal in a building for nearly 2 decades in an elementary school that when you walked in, the culture could be felt immediately. In a transparent letter to the parents, it was noted that it became an issue of the working environment as a risk to their health. And I ask you, the board, how can this be? How are we allowing an environment that feels cohesive from the outside to be impacting the health of our educators and administrators? Students are walking into schools right now carrying more trauma than ever before. Coupled with COVID learning gaps, pressures of social media, it is these teachers and administrators that are fighting these challenges daily and educating our kids. They need the support from central administration and the school board in order to educate those children, my children. Yet this administrator said that his health was impacted by the working environment here. You, the school board, have created a mission statement that is published that it is your goal to prepare all children for life by providing them the best education, regardless of their abilities, at the most reasonable cost, to help members of our school community respect one another. How is this your public mission, yet our educators and school building leaders are not being provided with the support and resources needed? How is this your mission when it seems that all over social media outlets, there is not respect being given to all stakeholders? If the disconnect here is coming from central administration, then I ask you, members of the school board, why is it being allowed? And if the problems here lie within the board itself, then I ask the community.
I'm sorry, your 3 minutes is up. Thank you. Number 7.
I wasn't going to speak. I was hesitant. But I'm actually an outsider's point of view in a way because I'm new to the district. You spoke about being here for many years and stuff, but as a newcomer, I need to speak. I am well aware of the school district and PTAs. I've been part of it prior school district. I am actually embarrassed now to say that I'm from Connecticut at this point. Let me explain something. I've only been here for 2 years. My 2 children, one's in elementary and one is in the middle school. Not gonna name names. And they come home saying things. I'm seeing things on social media. I'm getting posts that cops are always here, and not for nothing, News 12 is always here. And it's getting overwhelming at this point. But I feel bad for these students, and I think people need to start listening to them. And I don't like what's going on. I think the administration as well, I'm sorry. But I think the administration needs to be changed because this is not normal. This is not what I'm seeing here for the past 2 years, has been a circus. And I think something needs to be done. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Because if someone, I wasn't,
Number 8.
my time is not up and I'm not done. If I've only been here for 2 years and I want to leave, imagine new people trying to come in here as well.
Thank you. Number 8.
I am not a parent in the community. I'm a 31-year retired educator who was an advisor for the Pride Club in the district where I worked, and I am absolutely appalled that a Board of Education who was voted by the parents and the people in this community and central administration, whose job is to support teachers and administration, would allow a beloved teacher to be removed from a building to support our most vulnerable children. If the mission of this school board is to protect and support children and provide an educationally successful atmosphere, all kids must be supported. It is the job of everyone sitting up there to support the administration, the teachers, and the school board, and the children of this district to make sure this community can thrive and people can be proud to live here.
Thank you. Number 9. Number 9. Number 10. Is there a 10? Is there an 11?
Hello. I, like several of you, am a Connecticut graduate. I live in the district. My kids go to the school. As we all know, the principal himself went to our school. I am so surprised that the administration took it upon themselves to not understand the whole entire picture. When we think of this principal, you know, I sat here a night that there was the foreign language induction. He sat behind me. I said, oh my goodness. I said, you're so busy. I just seen him at a PTA meeting. I saw him something else. I said, you're here. He's like, oh, I'm sitting back here because right from here, I'm going to run to the soccer game. Because he didn't want those kids to not think he was supporting them. Because he wanted the whole entire district to know he's constantly supporting them. He's that kind of person. You know, when you think of this job, there's so much more to it than just a small portion. You need to think with the impact he makes on these children and what it means for, you know, not every kid goes home to a great family. Maybe he's all they have. This great guy who walks in the morning and actually says, good morning, how's your day? The regular little things in life. You have to look at the whole picture. And has people made mistakes? Yes, people make mistakes and they learn from their mistakes and they move on and they become better at their job and better at with the community and the people around it. So now I do have a question for you, Jackie. As the board and, you know, speaking to previous board members, because it was a demotion that was offered to the principal, the board should have some say in a demotion. Are you honestly saying the board had no say and knew nothing about this demotion?
So, look, everybody hates lawyers until you need one. So let me just respond to you real quick, and I do appreciate your comments, and I'm sure the board does as well. But the board cannot respond to questions from the public or in a public forum regarding matters of personnel, especially intricate matters of personnel.
She made a comment, though, that they weren't involved. And I just, like I said, I spoke to prior board members, and I'm told that it's a demotion you would be involved and you would have some type of say. So now I respect everybody in the board, and it's a hard position, and no one realizes everything that happens. But I honestly want to know, you tell us one thing. I'm a little disturbed if you said you were not involved. And yes, I understand administration has the first say, but were you involved? And do you have say?
So,
There's also privacy and confidentiality that we have to respect.
right, and to that point, you have to respect the privacy and the confidentiality of an employee.
No. Everybody stop.
Please do not call out. I will have to call the meeting to take a recess.
Let him speak. I want to hear.
So the issue is this, and the board hears everyone that's speaking. The board sees all the signs around the room about bringing back Mr. Moran, right? We can all read them. And we hear all the comments from the public, right? It's unfortunate that there's such a fundamental misunderstanding of what is occurring during this process. So to the extent that you haven't heard, right, so both the superintendent of schools and the board president advised you at the beginning of the meeting that the employee is on a leave of absence, right? There's been no action taken by either the board or its administration regarding this individual's employment.
But if he wants to come back, can he?
So to that point, to answer your question about the who's, the what's, and the whys, that is not something that the board is going to legally comment upon in public. It's prohibited from doing so. And my recommendation to the board is that they not respond to questions like that.
It's just disappointing as a community that so many people really supported this man. And we understand, like I said, there's many points to the job, but I think you guys really need to know there is many points to the job, not just what you're seeing, and how many kids were impacted by the loss of him. And that's the bottom line.
Thank you. Number 12.
Good evening. My name is Caitlin Smith, and I would like to first thank you for letting me speak. At my time at Connecticut School District, I have never met an administrator who cares more about the students than the previous principal. I've had the pleasure of getting to know him, and I can attest to the fact that he has always prioritized the students and their well-being. He handled COVID-19 graciously and gave seniors the best graduation experience possible during that hard time, and he has always made sure that the students came first. He was the principal who started the precedent of calling students down on their birthdays to meet with them because he cares. He always made time to listen to the students and their concerns, and he was always extremely humble with the position of power that he had as principal. He always tried to make the atmosphere at Connecticut feel safe and welcoming and not intimidating or a place of fear. He always pushed for improvement, especially with the mental health of the students, and I think that he should be reinstated as principal of Connecticut High School. He was an asset, and it is a real shame that he left. I felt so strongly about this that I made a petition, and over 870 people signed it within 1 week. These meetings serve the purpose of letting the people communicate their voices, so please listen to ours.
Thank you. Number 13.
Hello, good evening, everyone. My name is Craig Amarando. I've been in this school district for 45 years. So I've been a board member for 3 years, so I know a couple of things. First of all, the principal from the high school, he's one of those good ones. You know, we all know those good ones, right? We've all had one of those good ones, a good coach, a good principal, a great teacher, all right? We know what the good ones are. He's one of them. He's one of them. This was not his choice. He would love to be going to that building every day and teaching and instructing and helping the teachers, helping the students. That's what he is all about. We know that. We've heard that. The students, the teachers, the parents, they all like him. They all respect him. No one would have another opinion. All right, this principal, lifelong Connecticut T-Bird. All right, the board, this district, right? Our motto, it should be, we're here for the students. That's what we always say, what's best for the students. This principal staying at the high school is what's best for the students. Now, right now, if this decision continues, you're failing this community. So to answer some of your questions over there, someone really spoke very well over there. She should be running for the board. Anyway, really quick, okay? Jackie, you said that this decision was made by the superintendent. The board had no say in this. So, as a community, we're asking you, the board, of course you're going to vote on it. You should vote on it. That's your duty, okay? The superintendent, she has every right to make that decision if she so wants to, but the board can overturn it, and that's a fact. So, and every board member knows that, right? Jackie knows that as well. So, hopefully we're listening, all right? Don't let your personal agendas sway your decision. And, you know, I was up there. I know it's hard. If I get up there again, I'm not going to listen to the lawyer because the lawyer doesn't want transparency, okay? And stifling you does not help your cause, all right? Everyone, try to find the facts, all right? If you want the facts, just ask me. I'm not trying to be funny. I'm not trying to be a wise guy. We're all here because this certain person...
Craig? Your time is up. Your time is up. And you do know as a board president, you are the board president, so you know, and I know, that we cannot speak about personnel in public. You know that. So, no, you know that. It's wrong, it's defaming, and you know that. So you're coming up to the podium and speaking about what you know I can't answer. 1. 2, you know that an administrative move is made by administration on that side. Okay? So understand that, because you're blaming the board and no action has been taken at this time. And you know better than other people, and that's really why I'm surprised that you would say something that you know is not true. Number 14. Number 14. Number 14. Number 14. Is there a number 14?
My ninth grader asked me to read something she wrote. So I'm going to do that. Whenever you saw the person who can't be named, he was always asking how your family was, how you were doing, if your day was good. You were always met with a kind smile. And most importantly, he treats the students as people, not a number, not a part of a system, someone he actually cares about. The Board of Ed ordered to take down the pride flags, and I feel like he's getting in trouble for that. And not to make the only, sorry, I'm translating her text. So, and not to make the only admin principal in the school who genuinely actually really cared about us be the fall guy. Why are they making him a front for all of the stuff that the Board of Education, central office, and most especially Linda Adams, the superintendent, who could not take the heat for her own decision? For themselves, this is extremely disheartening for me. Our schools are going down the tubes with the way you're running it. I wish I could proudly say I was a T-Bird like my mom. My mom loved being a T-Bird. And so many amazing people in my life. I was raised in a family of T-Birds. But the way you're choosing to run the school is truly madness, and it's very sad to me. I don't want this to be what Connecticut is known for. We're on the news all the time, and it's really embarrassing. I will let you decide. I will let you decide if you want to be a footnote on the wrong side of the history of our school. That's a 9th grade special education student. She sees more than you see. And thank God Linda's going.
Thank you. Number 15.
Hi, and thank you for letting me have this opportunity to speak. I did not go to Connecticut High School. I went to Brentwood. And what's going on these days makes me wish I was bringing my kids up in Brentwood. That being said, I am here to support our principal. I do not get my news or the rumors from Facebook. I look to friends, I look to members of the community, but I still don't have any answers. So I hope that this meeting will answer my 3 questions. No disrespect, but why is an exiting superintendent making such a drastic change in our children's lives by removing a beloved principal? Second, Why did an email go out from the district saying that our principal is leaving to deal with personal problems when he is actually being forced out for reasons unknown? And most importantly, third, where the hell do we go for the answers? If everything is transparent, then shouldn't somebody in the audience know what the hell is going on? I'm sorry, I'm cursing, I'm Italian. I have 3 children in this district, depending on this school system, to help them navigate the clown world that we are living in right now. We are now counting on this principal to have our backs, but he's not here. Well, we still have his back now. Thank you.
So very quickly, and I know I've mentioned this before, and the comments continue, and you're certainly allowed to do that. So the issue of transparency has come up, and your former board president referenced that as well. So there's no one hiding behind the board's attorney here. They're following the board's attorney's advice.
Please show respect. We show respect when you speak.
Just a tiny bit. So, yeah, just a little bit. So with that being said, you have to understand that, again, the board cannot comment upon individual employees and any actions taken with respect to those employees. It's not only the law, but it's our recommendation to the board. Now, with that being said, that employee, if that employee is willing to do so, can certainly waive that right? So, for example, I have a written waiver sitting on the desk in front of me. So, for example, if that employee was here or at a later point wanted to come forward and sign that release and that waiver, then that would allow or permit the board to come forward and answer all these questions. But in the interim, without such a release and without that waiver, the board is not legally able to respond to any of these questions. It's within that employee's right to confidentiality that the board is respecting that ability. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. We have to vote. 30 minutes is up. Is there a motion to increase public speaking by 30 more minutes?
Motion.
Second.
Mylin and Marisol motion. And who we got second? I'll put one of these in second. So Marisol, you'll be. So Mylin is motioning, Marisol second. All in favor? Aye. Number 16. Number 17. Number 18.
Hello. I am very upset about how things went down with. Even though the students didn't always agree with everything he did, he always had our best interests at heart. Is a good man and deserves better than this and you. That's all. Have a nice day.
Thank you. Number 19.
Hello, my name is Charlotte D. Simone. I am a senior at the high school. Firstly, I would just like to reiterate that students can speak at Board of Ed meetings. It has been claimed in the past that we have been pawns for the teachers union, that we are paid actors, that we are indoctrinated. But that is not true. I'm speaking on my own free will. I am also 18, and I can vote in the Board of Education election in May. So I can speak on these matters. I am also an active member of all different things at the high school. I am a president of multiple clubs. I run an honor society. I'm heavily involved in student government. And, you know, your very well-paid lawyer can say whatever he likes, but
We all read the email. The writing is on the wall. It was my principal who was forced out. And I would just like to say that I am the one who has to walk into the school every day. And you can probably tell just from me talking, I am a tough cookie. He, who shall not be named, dealt with me very well. I talked to him hundreds and hundreds of times personally to deal with all sorts of things through the high school. He was there for us through all the chaos that was COVID. He always gave us whatever we needed. He was truly an amazing principal. I would like to say that this has probably been the most chaotic school year of my entire life. And it's, it wasn't COVID, it wasn't the principal, it wasn't Kathy Hochul, it wasn't our hardworking teachers who you always blame for everything. It's because of you. You are the reason that this year is chaotic. You are the reason that I've had to come to 2 protests for my school. And when I tell my kids about what my high school experience was, I won't be talking about the prom. I won't be talking about, all these great memories. I'll be talking about the chaos that was Connecticut High School, and specifically this Board of Education and our superintendent. Because frankly, I have seen enough, and I've been silent for too long. But I was quiet. I was not blind. Thank you.
Thank you. Number 20. Number 20.
I stand here, like many parents have, to advocate for our children. Many wonder why bullying is such an issue these days in our community. But honestly, you don't have to look far. Just read comments under a school-related post on social media. If adults can't be nice to each other, why should we expect it from their children? We want to keep our children safe and happy. Unfortunately, others are making up this imaginary danger about the LGBT community when the only real danger is us losing our children. If you pause for a second to get to know some of these amazing kids, maybe you would see what we see. Our babies growing up and changing, telling us who they are and who they want to be in the world. Isn't that what we all want for our kids? Doesn't every single child have the right to become their own person, to shine their own light? I don't see the harm in that, but I do see the harm in trying to block it. Advocating for the safety of our kids is not to the exclusion of all others. Equal treatment for some doesn't mean fewer rights for those that already have them. It's not divvied up like pieces of a pie. Banning flags, stickers, and symbols does not make fewer LGBT kids. All it serves to do is scare the ones that we have into silence. When we call for dignity, respect, and safety for our LGBT students, responses of all children matter is offensive because it's dismissing, ignoring, and denying that problems exist, a tactic too often used to shut down important conversations that must be had and attempts to make our concerns seem less. At the last BOE meeting, an individual played an audio clip of a man railing against the pride flag, and I found that display appalling, conveniently failing to mention that he's a member of a right-wing extremist group that peddles an anti-LGBT rhetoric and a group banned from multiple sites and services for hate speech. It should not surprise us to see hate in our schools when adults display it publicly. The pride flag promotes a peaceful understanding of the hardships that many face and represents safety and inclusivity for any marginalized person. It calls attention to the differences in how some are treated, calls for protection and recognition. Removing it is equivalent to silencing them, their right to speech, to be heard, seen, and accepted. LGBT-affirming schools are a crucial link in suicide prevention, and closeted kids are especially vulnerable when these symbols are removed. Sorry. We all heard the adage, sticks and stones, but it's wrong. Words can hurt. Words can break a child's confidence. Words can break their trust, linger in their minds, and drown them in their own tears. At young ages, words can be like tattoos, and hateful ones become beliefs if you are forced to start agreeing with them. Emails to the administration and to the superintendent go ignored, which is completely unacceptable. With incidents at our schools going undisciplined, it breeds an environment for those that are not taught to treat others with respect to instead display hate. So I implore you and the board, do not turn a blind eye any longer. We need a real no-tolerance policy for bullying that is enforced and not ignored, or worse, reversed for a select group of people. Actions speak louder than words. We need actions in disciplining those responsible for bullying, not just empty promises.
Thank you. Number 21.
congratulations. This community is fractured. We can't agree on anything. The one thing that we can agree about is on March 10th, something happened that brought the community together. It was a disaster for the high school, it was a disaster for the district, and it was a disaster for the students. And we're all about the kids, right? You did nothing to help the kids on March 10th. Absolutely nothing. But you know, congratulations, because the community is together on this.
To that comment, I will say, the school board had no idea what was happening on Friday morning. On Friday morning, I will be very clear, on Friday morning, we received a text message. That is a known fact. That is a known fact. We were not aware of what was going down at the high school other than a bag check. So sadly, I will say this. Maybe what we really need to do is look at the big picture here. And the big picture is an email went out to staff by said administrator. An email that should have only went to adult people. But instead, adult people thought it was a good idea to turn a computer around and allow students to take pictures of what was written. And that is a fact. And that is a fact. So maybe what we should first do is we should really look at the situation like this. Maybe the adults in the room need to all think about why anybody, and I mean any staff member, thought it was a good idea to turn a screen around. There was a time to tell children, no, they have every right to peacefully protest and speak. They do not or should not have it done the way it was done. The way it was done was not in the best interest of students. And I actually think that about how it was done with the principal as well. The whole thing, all of Friday morning, I did not see adults thinking about what was best for our school district. But we can say it's the board, and I will gladly take that. But I will let you know once more, anybody who turns the screen around and lets students look at something that was meant for adults only, or that's what was said, it was for adults only, that really, shame on you, because part of what happened in that high school has to do with adults caring more about their emotionally charged upsetment than it does about putting kids first. Put the kids first. Number 22. Twenty, 23. 23.
Good evening. I'm a parent of a senior at Connecticut High School. I do have some questions. I understand you guys sometimes can't answer them, but my question with regard to the board and being involved with employee issues, this is a general question, not employee specific, but the board does vote on whether people get hired, tenured. So the fact that the board or Mr. Spencer, you are saying that nobody can comment on it, that I find very confusing. Like, you're involved or you're not. You don't just claim transparency and then just like be quiet. Like, so I work in the education system. I do know the board is involved in hiring, changing positions and things like that. So that's just what I want to say. I just wish you could give a general comment that says, yes, we are involved. Because isn't that truthfully what's going on? Nothing, huh? Not a
Well,
nod.
what I can tell you about tenure, because you brought up tenure, and you're in education, then you know this.
Yeah.
To tenure anybody, the superintendent must, it's a must, recommend. The school board cannot tenure anybody. We do not have the power to tenure people without a superintendent recommendation. If any superintendent chooses not to, for whatever administrative reason, the board cannot lean on them like this is mob mentality. We don't have that. That's not how it goes. There's a process. So the process
hiring
is
process,
the-
right?
she-
The board
the
members all
superintendent,
recommended this
Dr. Adams.
person, they get hired. The board, I mean, I do know the ins and outs. I just wish you are just honest about it. I really think a step towards a community coming together is honesty. Whether you're a parent or a board member, shouldn't we all try to be together and have a clear understanding? Instead of, really, we have to go to Facebook because there's nothing out there. And another thing I want to say is, do you have proof that a teacher turned a computer around and let students take pictures of it? There's proof? Because, I mean, that is a horrible career-ending accusation. And unless you personally saw it happen, how could that statement even be made? And Mr. Spencer, as an attorney, you allow a board member to say that in a public forum? I mean, come on, you guys are doing all this, you know, I'm a semi-intelligent woman. And this runaround that you guys give is unbelievable. I really honestly just wish people could be honest. I do understand we can't talk about the principal that can't be named because of, I also have a human resource degree. But the other nonsense you got that's going on is really disheartening and disgusting. And thank goodness my daughter's out in June.
So just to pick up and answer some of your questions. So to the point regarding transparency again and what's available to the public and what's not. So by way of example and to your point, so individual decisions regarding the hiring of an employee, the termination of an employee, the transfer of an employee, right? Those are all matters that would appear on public agendas, right? So, or granting leaves of absence, right? Those may be on an agenda. In that respect, those decisions like that made by the board, those would be in public agendas and would be available for public consumption, right? So to the extent that your interest is in finding one of those things, I would encourage you to look in past agendas and see if there's any of those items in there regarding. So, no, it's not yes or no, ma'am. There is nothing in the law that is yes or no. So now, with that being said, you also challenge the board's decision or the board president's decision to make certain comments regarding, we'll say, staff in general, and whether or not, with the district's attorney sitting next to her, it was advisable to do that. So I can go out on a limb here and say if it wasn't advisable, I would have stopped it. Okay?
24.
I'm just gonna hold this because I'm a little bit short, so it didn't go down. So hello. I would just like to reference a recent statement put out by the district that reads, "We are committed to providing a safe, nurturing, and educational space that is respectful of all individual personal beliefs, regardless of what race, gender,
Guys,
religion..."
can we give her a little respect, please?
Thank you. "Race, gender, religion, sexual orientation, or political affiliation they possess. We fully embrace our community of diverse beliefs. We support and encourage our students to express the viewpoints they value." Looking around, I'm not really seeing an embrace or any
Can you just
sort
hold
of...
on 1 second, ma'am? Hold on. Can we, if we're going to talk, we're going to be removed because there's somebody speaking. We've given you respect, give them respect.
Thank you. So looking around, I'm not really seeing any sort of embrace or respect. Seems that you're only given respect for race, gender, religion, sexual orientation, or political affiliation if it aligns with certain people. So otherwise, it's labeled as dangerous. And to promote the mental, physical, and social well-being of the children of the community is what the board's mission statement ends as. But as a matter of fact, that actually doesn't require a textbook. The children of the community don't appear to be having their mental, physical, or social well-being promoted. So I personally don't believe if students need to stop their education midday to participate in an active civic engagement, while beautiful, due to the decision of an administrator, their well-being is being promoted, and you're doing something wrong. So we want answers and we want change, and we want a group of people that is listening and not just hearing and waiting for their turn to speak. So I know that I can't receive direct response unless sometimes you can, apparently. But I find it interesting that earlier it was recommended for people to seek out reputable sources for their information with research and not use Facebook. But you recently attempted to publicly insult me for using textbooks as a place to get information. So I'm wondering, where should the district go to get their information, especially when board representatives are blocking their constituents on social media when they don't agree with their opinion? And I do want to just close with one fact. If you cannot be transparent for legal reasons, stop using the word in every sentence. Thank you.
Thank you. 25.
Where's my mic? Is this on? I don't get it. There we go. Okay. I do not have anything really ready. I just want to say that I am a Connecticut grad. My husband is. My daughter will soon be. I've lived in the community since 1976. And I've watched this disintegration of the district by special interest, by opinions, by things that have absolutely nothing to do with an extension of the state. That's what the school is. It's not a place for a woman to come up here and give a 20-minute speech on Jesus without being cut off. It's not a place that we can come and heckle and attack children who come up to speak from the heart. So I just really want to say that there's a few things that Jackie said in the beginning, if I'm allowed to use her name. The rumor mill is a wonderful thing that you can blame while absolving yourself of all responsibility. You can say that you learned this and that from Facebook while using it daily, while using it in places that you really don't have. It's just inappropriate, whether it's your right or not, whether the attorney can tell you not to speak now, but you can go on a tirade or private message people or say whatever you want to say, which, there's a real gray area there between your personal comments and your comments as the president of the Board of Education. I really think that you need to rethink supporting all students. I think that you need to really think about what you're willing to tell us. Can you get a letter from Mr. Moran, or I'm sorry, can you get him to allow you to make a public comment? Of course. Does he trust you? Of course not. You've made multiple public statements about it was for personal reasons, please don't bother him. In other words, shut up, don't ask him questions, because you're not gonna know what really happened. He was forced out, and we know he was forced out because he wants to be here. And the students want him here as well. So I think it's time to address, you're not the majority. We are. Thank you.
Thank you. Number 26.
I'm short too. Sorry. As a resident who moved to Bohemia, primarily for the school district in 2008, I'm saddened and disheartened to see what has been done to this principal, but also to my own children and other students of Connecticut. I'm not expecting a response from any of you, and I'm sure you're in fear of retaliation. I'm sure you won't share the truth with us either, and it's unfortunate. As we all know, this principal has done an outstanding job, as you've heard tonight from everyone. Since he's taken over as principal of Connecticut High School, he's also shown all of his students how much he cares about all of them every single day, which not all administrators do, but he has done impeccably every day that he's been here. From all the kids that I know who have gone through here, from all the parents of the kids who have gone through here, and I've been pleased with my son who has been in the high school the past few years and the experience that he has had. And I was looking forward to my daughter coming up. She will be a 9th grader next year. And now, unfortunately, she won't get to have the pleasure of him as her principal. Mr. Moran has had to deal with some uncomfortable situations recently at the high school that I'm sure he knew he could have gotten himself jammed up with. He handled himself. He handled himself appropriately. He's made all of his students feel comfortable, no matter what group they belong to or not a group at all. He's made them all feel warm, welcomed, loved, cared about, and you removed him. Another concern that I have is that every single thing that happens in Connecticut seems to make it onto News 12. I've never seen such a thing. When events similar to the ones that have taken place here, and they occur in other districts, it does not become news. It's handled in district. Are you the least bit concerned as to how this could possibly make our district a target for hate? I know I am, especially since the high school has one way in and one way out. If this leak is an employee, that person or persons should probably be dealt with. Not only have our high school students lost so much due to the COVID years, but now you've taken their wonderful, caring, dedicated principal away from them. Hopefully you'll see the true error in this decision and the terrible lessons that have been taught to our children through your decision and put this principal back in the high school where he belongs. Thank you.
Thank you. 27. $27, 28,
First of all, what we need to do is acknowledge the bravery, courage, and respect that these children have, students, I apologize, that these students showed today in support of an educator who should be here right now. I was the voice of Connecticut. I did the morning announcements to the, hi Margaret, 2010, 2011, and I am appalled by what I'm seeing tonight. A community divided, division, hatred. Let it be known that what matters most of all
you have
is
to
this.
direct it to me. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, what was that?
You have to direct your comments to
Oh,
me.
okay, yeah, I apologize, sorry. Yeah, theater kid, I apologize. Well, you want honesty, so. Anyway, the point is that, frankly, this is just, I'm an outsider. I don't have kids. I still live in the area. But every time I go on Facebook, every time I watch News 12, this is chaotic, what's going on here. Now, I'm not the blame game. I don't know what happened to you guys, but what I do know is that something cuckoo happened on the 10th. Obviously, we want him back. We want him back. He who must not be named, we want him back. I'm hoping for some sort of civility, but I gotta be serious for a second. In reality, there's been other things that are going on with this district that go outside the board, and the reality is that the LGBTQ community is seeing some of the most horrendous, hate-filled bigotry, rage, and violence that we've not seen before. It is skyrocketing in the last few years. Connecticut needs to be a safe space for these students. We need to commit ourselves to the inclusivity, the respect, and the not tolerance, but the inclusion of all queer students. It's not enough to say that all lives matter. All Black lives matter. Queer lives matter. Trans rights are human rights. This board and this district, I'm not singling guys out, we need to absorb and listen to the queer community. We have to make ourselves known as a force of safety. It's a public school district because, frankly, I am scared. I have neighbors from marginalized communities, and I am scared for their well-being. If we do not tactfully and head-on address the bullying and the bigotry that is not just Connecticut, this entire country. We're in line for serious, serious ramifications. Thank you for having me talk, by the way. Thank you.
Thank you. Number 29. Number 29? Anybody? Number 30? Number 31? Number 32? Number 33? Number 34?
All right, I have a couple of questions. The tutor survey that I requested a couple of meetings ago, where are we with that? Are we doing that? Because I think it's important. We need to see how many parents are paying for tutors in this district and what we could do to help support our staff so that they could be better equipped. They spend less time in their classrooms having to help our kids catch up. So if a lot of parents are paying for tutors outside of school, that's also problematic as well. So we mentioned that we might be doing a survey to see how many parents are actually paying for tutoring. That was one question. The other question is I want to know where we are in terms of the augmented reality sand tables that I had brought up quite some time ago. I know that we allocated, I believe, $100,000 in the budget to put towards those. That's definitely something that I would love to see moving forward in this next school year, because that would be a wonderful addition to I guess if we start at the elementary school level, and they would be actually good in all of the schools. If you look at the programming for it, it would give the children, every single child, the ability in all levels of learning to see different weather patterns, water cycles, all sorts of different great things that they could use from K all the way up through 12. And they'd be great for for simple learning all the way up to AP learning. So I definitely want to make sure that those are definitely moving along. And then also, I did ask about earlier, but I know it was in the wrong time, about the percentage of retirees that we have. I'd love to see those numbers just so we could see how we're moving along budget-wise with that, and how that affects our final numbers as far as payout, and if not so much surplus, but what we have to spend for educational purposes, or like we had mentioned that transportation costs are going up, maybe that could be money that could be transferred from that. If we don't need it for something, that can go towards something like that. That would be something that I think would be good. The other thing is I also asked for a scholarship presentation. I still haven't heard anything about that, because I really would like a big presentation on scholarship. I haven't forgotten about that.
No, it's next meeting.
It is next meeting? Okay, great. Are we going to be sending out phone calls and robocalls and emails and everything? Because I would like the entire community to know. If they don't come and they don't want to know, that's on them. But we have to give the information to them, because that's all of your children's personal information. It could be their medical information. It could be their IEPs. It could be their 504s going forward. This is all stuff you need to know, because right now we're saying it's very encrypted and it's safe, but we don't know going forward, and this could affect your children's future. So that's definitely something you want to know, and I think that that information shouldn't fall into the wrong hands. We weren't given any information for it, so I appreciate that that is going to happen. Thank you.
Thank you. We are at our second 30-minute extension. The board, do they want to?
Yeah, I would extend. I think there's only a few speakers left.
So let's on to number 35 then. Is there a 35? Is there a 36? Is there a 37? Is there a 38? Oh, I apologize. 37's up.
Hi, good evening. So I have a couple of different things that I'm going to get into my 3 minutes, and then at the end, maybe you can tell me my answers. So a little while ago, you said, Jackie, that the Board of Ed didn't have any idea what was happening on March 10th. Now, a couple of years ago, I'm here 5 years in this district. When we first got here, there was an incident where at the high school, there were pink slips or something handed out as well, and that was the same excuse that we were given back then, that the Board of Ed didn't know what was happening with our rogue superintendent. So my question is, I was at that meeting at Sycamore when the kids were there crying and the teachers were upset, and it turned out to be something that it wasn't. But maybe that's something that should have been handled back then by the Board of Ed, so we wouldn't have this issue now as our superintendent is leaving. Now, my second thing is there a policy? Because earlier it was asked by Stephanie if there was, why would we allow an outgoing superintendent to make drastic decisions? It wasn't answered, but can we reword it? Is there a policy that does not allow her to make these or any superintendent, to make these drastic decisions as they're leaving? We want to attract good candidates that are coming in to be interviewed, and you're not allowing us to do that because this board and the district is in such a fiasco. We're not getting candidates that why would people want to come work here as a superintendent to pick up the pieces of a district that is not cohesive, that is not peaceful for our kids? I have a daughter, and she graduated in 21. The principal that should not be named called us and said, how is she doing? She was special needs. She was home schooled because of COVID. He called me out of hundreds and hundreds of kids to find out how my kid was doing. Nobody does that. Not every principal will do that. He did, and he took his time. So from my experiences with him, I had good ones. I have an 8th grader going into the high school, and I am extremely concerned because of what is happening. Because we don't have, or we may continue to have, a superintendent if we don't have a good candidate. Like, how is that even okay that there is not going to be, a principal there, and we're going to be up we don't know. And it's very concerning as a parent. And that's why all these people are here, because we deserve answers, and we're not getting them at all. We're not getting any answers. And there has to come a time when we do. There really does.
Thank you.
So what about the policy? Is there a policy? So you
There is not a policy. The superintendent, each superintendent, when they're hired, and they were not hired when I was on the board, it was before my time, there was a contract put in place. Those contracts, which you can look at, there is transparency on those, they're online, and you're able to read through it, and you can see all the different things. But the superintendent has a contract, that's what they're bound by.
So they're allowed to make any kind of decision up until they leave, no matter what they're leaving behind. That is my question. They can do up until the day they leave. They can make any decision and leave this district in any way they want. It could be a personal or not personal decision, but they are allowed to do that, and that needs to be reviewed in contracts or in policy.
No, that's not accurate. Yeah, I got it. So, ma'am, that's a very general, vague comment and or question. So
you think? I'm talking about this. I'm not talking about vague anywhere else. I'm talking about here and in reference to my kid. So do not talk to me like that.
So with all due respect,
go ahead, because I respected everybody.
Disparagements against the administrators here in the district. So, and the board. So the superintendent is not capable of making any decision. She's capable of making those decisions that she's permitted to do by law, right? The board has oversight over some of those decisions, not all of them, but some of them. So depending upon what decisions you're referring to, that's how we can,
the decision on March 10th, which is what everybody's here looking for.
So I'm still not clear on what decision you're referring to on March 10th.
Okay,
because there was
I am very resourceful. I will go online and I will look at everything. My other question was, do you know how many untenured administrators we have in the district? And How long does it take for them to be tenured? I don't know that yet because I didn't look it up, but it just came up in my
It's 4 years.
4
It's
years.
4 years for administrators, isn't it? 3, it's teachers and 14.
Okay.
So
and
it's
how
4
many-
years.
How many untenured administrators do we have?
We don't have the number from, but we can absolutely get it to you.
And I
I
have
know that
emailed before.
I
sorry.
had somebody ask on social media site, and I did answer to give it was 7 out of 10 principals are tenured, and out of the 3 that are not, they are tenured as APs.
Okay.
And their leave replace,
Thank
their,
you.
not leave, what is it? They have a leave replacement it. They have a leave, so they're still tenured APs. No, that does not. Number, is it 38? 38, please.
Okay, I have a couple of questions. I'd like to know whose decision it was to put a department head as the principal, who's never held a principalship before of the high school, except for night school of maybe like 9 kids. Whose decision was that? Who replaced principal? Whose decision was that to put a department head? Okay, you know what? We'll get back to that one. What about anybody who's in business knows that you can get rid of someone by saying you're out, and you'll get your pay, okay, if you take a leave of absence. That's pushing someone out. How do they support their family? Tell you what, we'll get back to that. I'm so disconcerted with what's going on. At one time or another, I voted for every board member up there. You know what? Let's go back to the one. Who came up with the line, you're out? And if you take a leave, you get your pay. Can I have an answer to that or no? Who comes up with those lines? How about someone having one evaluation, okay, and it was glowing? How does that come up? How does this happen? You guys are sitting up there and you're acting like nothing, you had no idea. You can't do that. Everybody knows that you guys knew. Now, I get you can't talk personnel, but I'm telling you, sometimes you'll have to stand back, backpedal, and realize a mistake was made, okay? No one here will think less of you. If anything, they'll think more of you. I want to remind you guys that a comment was made at the last board meeting that there was concerns about the leadership at the high school. That unto itself states that the board was a party to this.
Thank you. Number 39.
Hello. Sorry if I talk kind of shaky. I'm very nervous. Hi, I'm Emma. I'm a senior at Connecticut, and it is very sad how stressful my senior year has been. I would just like to say I'm pretty aware that our principal is probably not coming back. My opinion is that his leave of absence was not completely his choice, but that's not the point. I would love for him to come back, as would many of us. But I unfortunately don't think that it is a reality. My fear is that since this happened to the principal of our school, what does this mean for the rest of our teachers? I'm scared that since this happened to him, it could happen to anyone. I don't want that for any of my teachers. I don't want them to be scared that they will be pressured by those above them. Also, The day that this occurred was normal. I had just seen our principal that morning, and then I walk into fourth period and I see my teacher very upset, noticeably upset. We could all see it. I see teachers that I know in the halls wondering what had just happened. I think you know that this disrupted the school day, but it wasn't because the teachers turned their screens and showed us the message. They didn't. I found it on my own. I overheard it in the halls. Whatever you need to hear to know that it wasn't our teacher's fault. The school day was disrupted because this affected our teachers and students equally, so much that we decided to have a little sit-in. I should not have to be here right now. I should be at home right now making cookies for our anti-bullying club social hour that we are having tomorrow. But instead, I'm here having to fight for my voice once again. Thank you.
Thank you. Number 40.
Number 40. My name is Nicholas Ferrioli. I used to sit up there on that board from 2015 to 2018. I know I can't say names, so I'm going to not comment on the current situation. I don't know enough to comment about it. But what I can tell you, having sat up there, is we kind of hide behind the lawyer because he tells us not to say anything about personnel. But I don't think anybody's asking you about personnel. What I think they're asking you about is, were you involved, yes or no? And I can tell you this, having sat on that board, they don't make any decisions without the superintendent, and the superintendent doesn't make any decisions without them. So they need to stop hiding behind the superintendent and the lawyer and just say you were involved or you weren't involved. You had a discussion about it. It's that simple. It's not about personnel. We all know that. And I can tell you this, and this is the last thing I'm going to say before I leave. If I was sitting on your board at this current time and two principals, and I'm an educator, 24 years I've taught in Brentwood, and two principals walked out on my watch, I'd want to know why, and I'd look in the mirror.
Oh, what's number? 41, please.
All right. Hey, everyone. So I'm back again. I don't really even know where to start with this because everyone basically covered everything I was going to say. My former principal was amazing. He was an inspirational figure that loved his job. I truly cannot comprehend how this situation even happened. That principal was a man who knew his students. He showed up to events proudly. He attended those basketball games, went to all of my inductions. He just showed up. He did his job with a smile on his face. He inspired me every day, and more importantly, he stood up for us. That is the man that was forced out. This school year will surely be memorable. Between the safety of my classmates being threatened with the removal of the pride flag, being in the news who knows how many times, and now this, I question to myself, when will this madness end? You must be tired of hearing this, but it's embarrassing. I beg of you, listen to your students, the ones who have shown up here time and time again. No one here is saying that they agree with you or the policies that you implemented. I stand with all of my teachers, and more importantly, I stand with that principal who should still be in the halls of Connecticut. I graduate this June. This has been my senior year, and I would really love to say that I've been proudly going to Connecticut, and I will be a proud Connecticut graduate. But that seems just really unrealistic, seeing my senior year and my 4 years I've had at this high school. I'm sorry if you can't listen to your students and just try to sympathize with us. We have faced so much here, and we have been trying to express our feelings to you, but we're clearly not being heard. I mean, you guys are there listening to us right now. You've seen that every single person here tonight has been on one side. But it seems like this isn't going to change. We're not getting progress. We're not getting the answers we want. It's just kind of embarrassing. And I don't mean to say that in a rude way, but yeah, it's the truth of the matter. Like, I would like my voice to be heard. I would like to say I did something during my time here. But my principal is not going to be back in that hallway, and
I won't be happy until he is. Sorry, but. So, thank you.
Thank you. 42? 42? 43? Is 42 the number? Can I please have a motion to adjourn the March 21st Board of Ed meeting? All in favor? Aye. Have a good night, everybody. Get home safe.